Hi, my name is Michael Smith, and today I'll be going over some nonverbal signs of deception with you. Most of us have had that experience when conversing with someone that we feel what they're telling us may not be the complete truth. Whether that be just subtle movements in their body, or if that would be something in their voice, we can tell that something about what they're saying cannot be trusted. Well, today I'm going to give you 3 points to look for to help you determine whether what a person is saying can actually be the truth. First off, when a person's body language does deceive them, or some of their nonverbal signals can give away that they are not telling you the truth, that is known as leakage. Leakage is basically the main point of where what you're trying to get across is against what your body language is saying. So a lot of your nonverbal cues is giving away the fact that you cannot be trusted with what your word is saying. To determine this, a whole body view is very helpful when viewing someone. If you get that whole body view, you can see those subtle movements instead of just their face and eye movements, because some people are able to control this, but they may not be able to control their whole body, as our brains cannot control that amount of matter. Starting off, some of the most important things is to have a baseline when you're talking to somebody. Now, what I mean by baseline is you converse with them in normal, non-threatening situations. So it's almost kind of like small talk. You're conversing with them, trying to get a read on them, just asking them their names, things about their family, certain areas like that, just so you can get a baseline on how they act. Then, when you're actually asking serious questions that you need to know the answers to, you already have an established factor to go off of, so that you don't have to worry, that you can go off of, so you can then relate that back to what they're actually saying now, so that'll help you determine whether or not what they're saying is actually true. This is one of the big differences in their behavior. You need to pay attention to this in order to determine whether or not what they're saying is the truth or if it is a lie. Then, people will also have individual differences in the way they communicate. So, some people might get very nervous in public settings or just in an interview setting. This is a key to look for. Although they may be fine in a social setting, they could be very different when it comes to that professional setting. This baseline helps determine this, so you don't think that they are lying when actually they may be telling you the truth, but they are very nervous because they're not used to that kind of setting. So this is another good reason to establish that baseline and make sure what you're saying to them can be true. I see this all the time with my athletes. As a strength and conditioning coach, I try to use this baseline to determine whether or not an athlete is actually giving me their full potential. There's a lot of times in competition an athlete will go harder than they actually would in training. So by doing this, I'll put in little games into my training sessions. This helps me to establish how hard they really can work and how hard they're willing to work. So, if I put in a game and they're flying around doing things they're supposed to be doing, but then we go to a training session and they're a step below that speed that they were when we were actually competing, going for a prize, I know they're not giving me their full effort. So that's a good way to use a baseline to determine whether or not someone is actually deceiving you or is telling you the truth. My second main point that I have here is looking for movement. Now, we all know everyone has subtle movements when they talk. They try to keep it calm, but everybody has movements that's going to give them away. Now, if you're trying to deceive somebody, you're going to be very shifty. You might move shoulders back and forth. You might hunch over. You're going to try not to move your body, but there's a lot of signals that are going to help give you away. So, a lot of people need to look for these movements. A lot of shrugging of shoulders, being scared, that'll give them away. Then there's also smaller gesture movements. Now these gestures can be something subtle, even as just a touch of the face. That's a very key indicator. A lot of people, when they're nervous or lying, will touch their face ever so slightly. Some people might actually rub their nose, stroke their beard. Anything that can be subtle. It could be a small tap or it could actually be a whole hand. It's just something to look for. It's a very key point. Another thing is just looking at their hand movements. Are they very nervous? Do their fingers move fast? Are they tapping a lot? Do their feet move up and down? That's another reason why you have that whole body view. You'll be able to, if you're behind a desk, you won't be able to see these hand movements if they put their hands in their laps, or you won't be able to see their feet. You won't be able to see if they're tapping up and down, their legs are moving like they're running. Those are very key indicators that someone may be trying to deceive you. And looking at eye movement, that's a very, very subtle movement that takes years of practice to figure out. It's been shown through statistics that if you're looking to your right, you're recalling, you're trying to remember something that actually happened. But if you're looking to the left, that could be a subtle indicator that maybe they're making it up. This is the creative side of the brain. They're trying to go to realize. They're just trying to make something up just to go with the story. Those are important keys to look for. My third point is the way they dress. Now, a lot of people, they have a professional dress that they have to wear. That's fine. That's not it. No big deal there. But it's what they do with that dress that you need to be conscientious of. Now, are they manipulating their dress? If they have a coat or a sweater on, are they tugging at the sleeves a lot? Are they messing with their clothes? Do they have buttons that they keep unbuttoned at the top, open and closed? Are they messing with them a lot? What other keys do they have a tie on? They're trying to loosen it, almost like they're too hot, trying to mess with that a little bit, tugging it, playing with the end of it, flipping it around. Those are key indicators that someone might be not being completely honest with you. So you need to look for these things. Then, another key thing with your clothes is maybe you're trying to hide behind them. Maybe pulling that collar up, make yourself a little smaller, just trying to hide your head away from someone if you're not telling them the whole truth. If you have a coat on, sinking into that coat, trying to pull it over you a little bit more. Those are key things to look for that may be an indicator that person is not telling the truth with you. So remember to look for these. In review, we got our 3 main points here. We got our baseline, our movement, and our dress. That baseline, having that establishment so you know what to look for when you actually come to serious questions in an interview or in a professional setting where you need an honest answer. Setting that baseline really helps you figure out, this is what I need. Then, movement. Just those subtle eye movements, body movements. Are they tapping, running around? Those are key indicators. Maybe they're not being completely honest. You need to look for those. They might be trying to deceive you. Then your dress. Do you play with your dress a lot? Do you tugging at those sleeves, messing with buttons, messing with that tie? Once again, trying to hide away from people. You got to be careful looking out for those things. That could be a key indicator to deceive. Now, I'm going to finish you off with a quote here that I really like. I thought really put this all together. Now, this is from Lauren Anderson here. Lauren Hill, my bad. This is from Lauren Hill. She said, reality is easy. It's deception that's the hard work. And I really think that's a key with all this. Having those subtle body movements that gives you away, even when you're trying to be deception, really shows. Can't get away with it. Thank you. Good afternoon.